Cheers.
Cheers. Hi and welcome
Wait,
to
sorry. Am I supposed to look at you and smile? Am I supposed to look at the camera?
Hello and welcome to the Joy Sequence. So I am
No, I'm
here.
sorry. I was like this.
Hi and welcome to the Joy Sequence. So I'm here with the creator, Adam, today. So tell us a little bit about this.
As a way to decorate the background for this interview, I've put up some of the prominent props and signage and pieces of theming from the last 3 attractions. People that follow me on Twitter or Instagram, they may recognise a lot of this stuff. These gas masks are from Pest Control. This is from Pest Control. This is from the Grotto, which is my very first one. These heads are from Joy. A lot of the hanging material is from Pest Control.
How did the Joy Sequence begin? Where did it all come from?
I always wanted to be the host. I always wanted to put on the best family event, the best Christmas party, the best Halloween party. And now I have my own house. I have the space to be able to do that. So the first thing I did was invite everyone round for Christmas, all of my family. I started to think about what I could do with the space, how I could make it interesting and entertaining. And I thought, well, the answer is obvious. I need to make a horror maze for everyone to walk through.
Of course.
Of course. So I sat down and started trying to think about what I wanted to do. I had to think about the layout. I examined the garage space that I had, thought about how I could put up certain walls to make a walkthrough, backstory, possible theming that I could do, and I really took it quite seriously, a lot more seriously than I probably should have done for a Christmas get-together.
Yeah.
So we all know that Santa comes to people when they're good at Christmas. The Krampus is basically the opposite of Santa.
The anti-Santa.
He's the anti-Santa. So I started making a little pre-show.
It was about those who've been bad. Deep beyond the North Pole, there lives a creature with horns like a goat and teeth like panthers.
I actually had quite a creepy jingle for the attraction, which was taken from a small snippet of a very well-known Christmas song, Jingle All the Way, so it's called.
Yeah.
Jingle All the Way.
Yeah.
Created some branding, got a logo together, and it just kind of went from there, and I kept on wanting to make it more and more professional.
Snowballed into something.
It snowballed.
Right.
I started to think about, right, well, when guests come out of the attraction, they're going to have the photo taken. That's going to be put into a little booklet, a little printed booklet with branding and facts about the attraction. I actually made all the walls out of bin bags, and it was actually not as easy as it sounds.
Yeah.
It took a lot. It was basically like a tiled wall. The walls were made of bin bags, which were stitched together with string, and also filled with sand in order to make them heavy and not blow in a breeze.
That's all.
I didn't tell them what was happening. I just said that there's a special attraction at this party called the Grotto,
Oh,
and everyone
gosh.
was a bit like, "Oh yay, how fun!"
Candy canes.
They didn't exactly. They didn't realise what they were about to walk into. Another night was really fun, so I got everyone to come outside and queue in this queue line that I set up with fairy lights and pieces of pipe. Everyone was pretty shocked about what I put on. Everyone came out thrilled and quite scared after the praise that I received from everyone, saying that was really fun, that was really well put together, that was really entertaining and interesting. So I thought to myself, I can do way better than that. I can think of a much more original theme, I can make it more immersive, more exciting, more scary. And that was the beginning of the Joy Sequence, basically. Whilst I was in the process of making the Grotto, I decided that I would make a Twitter account, an Instagram account, and I'd share pictures and videos of what I was doing. Didn't really expect much of it, didn't really expect anyone to particularly follow it or be interested in it, but I was actually quite surprised a lot of people were. A lot of people were following it and commenting, saying, "This looks really cool, I can't wait to see what else you do." And just got me really excited to start developing my next attraction, which became Pest Control.
Pest control is in operation.
I spent a lot more time and a lot more money on Pest Control, and I put a lot more attention into different aspects of the attraction that I didn't with the Grotto. I got these boiler suits together, I sprayed them with patterns, and I got people to actually be in the maze with props to scare people. And then people came out of Pest Control and were like, "Oh my god, what was that?"
Very. That's good, that. That is very good. Very good.
Pest Control was themed around this organisation called Pest Control. I didn't want it to seem completely unrealistic that such things would happen inside a garage. So the idea was that the garage had been taken over by some sort of sinister alien creature that's eating away at the wood. Like a termite, but a lot more powerful than a termite.
A bit more of a supernatural.
Something
tale.
supernatural, some strange supernatural creature, but it's not about that creature, it's about the organisation. So pest control were called in to deal with the scenario. Most people expected the attraction to be about creepy crawlies, bugs, pests, there's going to be bugs everywhere, but the idea was that it would be the unexpected case that the attraction wasn't about the bugs, it was about the organisation, it was about pest control. The kind of look I was going for was not so much this sort of dark, sinister look. It was a little bit kind of cartoony. I didn't want it to be exactly like, typically dark. It was more about gas masks splattered in pink and green paint. I wanted it to have quite a lot of universal appeal. The grotto was quite dark feeling, it was quite sinister, quite intimidating, and I wanted this one to be less intimidating and more intriguing, more fun, vivid. And the idea was that when you enter this environment, you are immediately made to feel as though you shouldn't be there. There's sounds, there's warnings, there's voiceovers saying, don't be in this area. Pest control are in operation.
Warning, you are in a restricted area. Access to authorized personnel only.
You go into the attraction and you would immediately, whilst going through this maze, be being exterminated by pest control, and you'd come out feeling like you were the pest. So I suppose the message of that attraction was that humans are the pests.
I like that.
Those without authorized access must keep out.
After pest control came joy.
Joy. All you have to do is believe.
The story of Joy is there's a village that the Joy Seekers live in, and they've built a shrine, and inside the shrine is a box called Joy. The Joy Seekers believe that this box holds magical power. The power of this box is it gives you joy if you believe in its power. However, if you don't believe in its power, the box gives a curse. So you'd go in the attraction in groups of 4, you'd be aware briefly of the fact that if you don't believe, something bad will happen. You're given little hints, there's poems, there's visuals, there's tapestries, but you're not really sure what's going to happen if you don't believe, which gives you a proper sense of I want to believe, I don't want to know what happens if you don't believe. So you go into the shrine, you sit around it, you see the box, you suddenly feel very much like you're in front of the thing that you should worship, and it's quite intimidating. And something that I definitely pushed more with Joy than Pest Control and the Grotto was the whole theatrical side of it. It was a proper pre-show. The Grotto and Pest Control had pre-shows, but it was just something on a screen that you'd watch before going in, whereas with Joy, I wanted 0 screens. It was a natural environment. These people lived off the land. There was no screens, there was no technology. So the entire pre-show was sound, light, and theming that put you in this environment.
So you're in the environment as opposed to watching.
Yeah.
All you have to do is believe.
We believe. Oh God, here we go. Honestly, I cannot tell you. Oh God. Oh my God. I don't want to look at the bar.
You'd go in, you'd sit in front of the box, it would do its thing, it would whisper and it would spin its handle and play its jingle, and then it'd be interrupted, it wouldn't be happy, it would detect a non-believer, you'd get spat at, you'd be put into pitch black. And you'd have to go down this path that was the dedicated non-believer exit route that was supposedly set up to help you get out there quickly, as long as you do it very quickly, otherwise you'll be trapped in the box. Joy was believed to be the 6th sense, so all of the other 5 senses were going to be completely attacked under this curse.
I'd say overwhelmed is the word I use. Like your senses were just being battered, and then you just couldn't have a sense of anything no more.
The sense of smell was triggered by a really good use of smell actually. I was in contact with a company called Aroma Prime. I got a fantastic smell from them which really enhanced the environment and really gave it its own personality. It's a very unique smell, it was a very magical smell. The sense of hearing was completely attacked by this awful banging and screaming sound. And your sense of touch was all shaken up because as you was walking through, there was all these things that were touching you, obstacles in the way, sharp things, soft things. It was all very gross. And at the very end of the attraction, you end up pushing your way through and crawling out of the box. The idea was that if you crawl out of the box, you've escaped the curse in time. A lot of people were very impressed by that. They crawled out of the box, turned around, and were like, "Oh my god, I've just crawled out of the box."
Yeah.
Okay, so that worked really well.
It was a very like, it made it a bit interactive as well.
Yeah.
I liked the palms. It was sort of like almost like a game where you were like,
Yeah.
where you were sort of directed to leave in a certain way, and it was something that you had to do. And
Yeah.
It sort of made it a little bit more interactive with the audience.
In the other attraction, the only thing that you had to be able to do to participate is move through a maze to the exit. Whereas in this one, it was a lot more tactile, a lot more physical. You had to get down and crawl. You had to push things to get through.
You have to find your own way.
Yeah.
Very like alone in it with all this stuff going on as well.
I created a lot of a stronger sense of being lost in this one. And there was a certain point in the maze where I purposely designed it so that you couldn't see where you were supposed to go, and the exit path was not obvious. So there was a lot of dark, touching of the walls, trying to go through, and then you would turn a corner and it would be so thick with smoke and it would be pitch black, except there would be a light in the distance illuminating. So obviously naturally you would walk towards that light, feel towards it, and the closer and closer you get to that light, you realise that light is coming from down below. So you follow the light, and the light actually leads you through a tunnel into the box. So you crawl in, following the light, and at the very end of this light, you push, and you're back into the shrine at the very beginning where you were.
I want to kind of ask about the sounds as you're leaving. There's like the faint sort of crying sound. Like what's kind of the meaning behind that? Like what part of the story was that telling?
So in terms of the sound, I mean, it's always a little bit difficult with that kind of, because the whole attraction is being put in one space. I don't have the ability to split the sound across several parts of the attraction. It's hard to time how long people will take to go through because everyone's different. Some people might go through it really quickly, some people might go through it really slowly. So I had to kind of work with that and make one piece of audio that's going to fit all scenarios. So the idea was, once the ticking of the clock begins, that begins as you head down into the passage. That's the hell, that's the curse taking over. And Joy starts chanting, "Joy, joy,
Joy, joy,
and then there's a scream and it all goes very eerie.
joy.
There's crying sounds in there, and that sound is the meaning of the curse is now taking over.
So the way I kind of interpreted it, I don't know if it's right, but that almost sounds to me like you've just escaped the box, but that noise is coming from the people who weren't so lucky, kind of thing.
Yeah.
I suppose what's interesting is that everyone can interpret little details, but that's what I got. I kind of saw it as those people are lost in there with like the sort of faint sounds, and they have their senses robbed in a way.
It can be interpreted differently by different people. So you said that you imagined the sound of the crying to be the people behind you that you couldn't necessarily see, but you had a sense that people were behind you that were also
Souls
trapped in this
almost,
curse.
yeah. When I was watching back on the video and I heard that crying again, I was like, that's actually really creepy. What's the process of putting an attraction together like this?
It's been a little bit different of each of the three that I've done so far. So, for example, on my latest one, Joy, I was quite heavy on the whole budgeting side. I got a lot of spreadsheets set up, I got lists of props that I needed, and I was a lot more organised with it. Whereas with the grotto, I was less organised because I saw the grotto as a bit of fun at the beginning. It was like, oh, I'll just buy that, that's fun, put that up there, blah, 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 whatever. Whereas with Joy, I took it a lot more seriously and I wanted it to be a very certain way. I was very keen to make sure it was a step up from the previous. I wanted it to be a high quality, I wanted it to be more of an experience, a longer experience. I wanted people to go into the shrine and forget that they were at my house or that anything else existed. It was in that moment, it was all about being in the shrine and in front of this box, not knowing what's going to happen. So once I've got the brand identity, I've got the story, I've got the theme, I start to work on audio. I want to give it a really strong audio presence. What's going to be the jingle to it? Because the grotto had a very specific jingle. Joy had a specific sound to it. Pest Control also had a very specific soundtrack. And then next, I think about the space that I'm working with. I want to make sure that even though all 3 attractions have actually been in the same space, I wanted to make each of them feel like it was potentially in a different space. So I created a very different layout, a different way of navigating that space.
So how do you factor in elements like crowd control, queue lines and that kind of thing when you design an attraction?
I obviously don't attract much of a crowd, so I don't have to do much of mass crowd control. I had about 30 people come to Joy, which in my garden is quite a significant number of people.
Yeah.
I do make a queue line. I do consider how people will queue for the attraction, because the reality is people will queue. I think for Joy, the last person in line probably queued for about 45 minutes, which is actually quite a long time.
It builds the anticipation though.
Yeah, it builds the anticipation.
The music
Yeah.
and things,
Yeah.
the atmosphere.
Yeah. There's a couple of different ways that I've done it. So with Pest Control, it was set up very much so that when people leave the attraction, they come back out into the same space that the queue line was in, so people can see people's reactions as they leave. And that was good, that worked well for Pest Control, I liked it. However, with Joy, I wanted to do something very different. I wanted to make sure that the experience felt very personal to each group that went in. So I had designed the area where spaces were cut off with tapestries and teepees. You leave down a passage into the gift shop. You do not see the people in the queue throughout the entire thing. So when you go into the experience and leave the experience, you don't see anyone else that has been in it or that's going to be in it, because they didn't get to see the reactions of people that were leaving as they left.
Everyone can make their own impression of
Yeah,
it.
and each person that went in had no relief of the suspense and anticipation, because they did not get any feedback from anyone that's been in it yet. So to
Yeah.
each and every person in that queue, it's going to stay as tense for each person, because they don't know what's going to happen right until the very end. So in terms of attractions that I'm working on, the next one, exclusive! And something that people always say they'd like to see next is an escape room. I'm going to give it a Joy sequence twist. It will be an escape scenario.
Okay.
There will be puzzles and there will be logic involved, but I will be wanting to make it a bit of a different experience from your classic escape room. It will be a lot more theatrical. It will be very heavily story-led. You won't just be told the story before you go in. You go in, you try and find your way out, and that's it. It will be a continuing story.
It's not lit up. Oh my god. Is your laptop gone off? Oh. I think the interview was fine.